Here we go.
So if Mrs. Jones decides to be a bad patient and not wait for us to get out of bed, at that point, you want to always make sure that you take care of your patient first. So you will take care of your patient. My colleague is walking that patient to the bed. I do not need to manually interact with the bed because the bed will automatically be silenced and patient safety will automatically be suppressed based on my badge. How long it takes for the badge to suppress based on how long it is for the badge to be picked up in the room. The important thing is we do not want to manually interact with the bed if you have a locating badge. Remember, your badge does all the work for you. At this point, we're going to get Mrs. Jones back in bed. She had to go to the bathroom. She's all taken care of now. We're going to tuck her in nice and secure, and she's good to go until later. If, let's say, I do not have a locating badge, I forgot my badge today, or maybe physical therapy is on your unit and they do not have badges, you still can suppress the patient safety system. You're just going to have to do it manually. So at this point, if I have to manually suppress patient safety, I do that by coming over to my patient station. I press Manage Bed. And up at the top here, it says Safety Alerts are on. So I'm going to turn Safety Alerts off, and I'm going to select the drop-down timer to specify how long I want those safety alerts suppressed for. You have the option of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all the way up to 3 hours. Make sure that that time that you select is appropriate for the amount of time that you're going to be providing care. So if I'm giving Mrs. Jones a bed bath, I might want to suppress it for 30 minutes, so that way I can roll her around in bed and not worry about nuisance alerts. If I'm getting her up, I might only want to suppress it for about 10 minutes, so that way it gives me time to collect my supplies. Please remember that whenever the patient safety system is suppressed, no alerts will be sent for that patient. So when we get Mrs. Jones up out of bed right now, no bed exit alarm is going to go off because the patient safety system has been suppressed. Now at this point, again, patient detection has taken over. It is going to be suppressed indefinitely regardless of the timer I selected because I have patient detection. When Mrs. Jones gets back in bed, it is going to automatically re-engage patient safety based upon patient detection, because I do not have a staff badge in this room. So there the bed exit automatically set. If you manually disengaged patient safety via the patient station and you provided care to that patient in the bed, or you never got the patient out of bed, please remember, if you see that timer selected and it says patient safety off before you leave the room, always turn it back on. The important reason of that is because when patient safety is suppressed and there is not a caregiver in the room, the bed exit alarm is off, so your patient is not in a safe state. At this point, Mrs. Jones is comfortable. Maybe she's improved in her care, and she no longer qualifies as a risk for falls. I can manually turn her falls risk off by clicking on that on my patient station and clicking Remove Risk. You can also have falls risk removed via Smart Client, or if you have an integration with your medical record based upon your falls risk score. Now, even though falls risk is not assigned to this patient, the bed alarm is still on. And that is because we will never remotely turn your bed alarm off. You must manually turn it off because we want to make sure you meant to turn it off for Mrs. Jones, not accidentally turning it off. Couple extra things here. In regards to pulmonary monitoring, if we did put pulmonary risk, that is just reminding and alerting you that your patient has to have a certain head of bed angle. Those alerts may or may not have a delay before it alerts you so that you are able to provide care. Talk to your hospital in regards to your configuration. In regards to your skin reminders and risk assessments are based upon notifying that your patient is at a higher risk for skin breakdown, and we want to be reminded that they need to be turned and assessed every 2 hours. What will happen is when you assign your patient as a skin risk, you will have a reminder start where it's a countdown clock, and every 2 hours you will be reminded it's time to do a round on your patient and check their skin. So outside of your room at the end of that countdown, you will have a dome light illuminating to tell you it's time to come into that room and assess their skin and reposition them. That reminder may or may not go to your phone and to your desk console. When you come in the room to do that positioning and do that skin assessment, you're going to come over to your patient station. You're going to click reminders, and that turn due reminder, you're going to click the clock to restart it back to that 2-hour countdown. If your patient leaves the floor for some reason, you're going to want to mark them as out of room. So that way, everyone on the unit knows that that patient is not being monitored for patient safety. When they look at the status board, you're going to want to make sure that you watch to see if they have patient safety turned on or if they're in their room. How we mark the patient as off the floor is we come to our patient station, we mark out of room, and you mark that patient as in or out. So right now, this patient is in the room. We're going to take Mrs. Jones for a CAT scan. I'm going to mark her as out. And on my status board here, where it originally had that check mark, it now has a little out of room icon with that door. When she returns, what we're going to do is we're going to get her settled in bed. We're going to make sure her bed is plugged in via the 37-pin cable. And then we're going to mark her back as in room. It's important to remember that when a patient is marked as out of room, any of those reminders will automatically be put on hold and patient safety will be suppressed. Did you stop it? We're going to talk about how you signify the difference between your semi-private rooms. Semi-private rooms can be notated when you're in managed bed or when you are in out of room. You can notate if you are alerting on the patient in bed A or the patient in bed B by clicking on the manage bed icon and selecting the toggle in between the two beds. For semi-private rooms with locating, please be aware that when you enter the room, you are going to be suppressing patient safety for both beds. If you do want to only suppress patient safety for the patient in bed 1 versus bed 2, you would need to manually do that without the badge picking you up in that room. Based upon your hospital's configuration, if you have bed level locating, you would be able to suppress it only for the patient in the bed that you are visiting. You will receive more information if that applies to you.
Five, four, no, that's perfect right there because I'll come around. 3, 2, 1. Shit. Hold on. And action.
So with locating, even though I've just assigned my patient as a falls risk, the bed exit will not engage because my locating badge is suppressing patient safety. So patient safety is currently off. Patient safety will be engaged when the locating badge is not located within the patient's room. Whenever you leave the room or whenever a caregiver is not detected in a room, patient safety will be enabled. And we can see that on the status board. Currently it is paused because I'm still located in the room. And it will become enabled and we'll hear the chirp of patient safety as soon as it stops detecting me in the room. So my bed exit has just engaged. I have the green check mark saying safety status is enabled, and my patient is actively being monitored. If my patient gets out of bed, the bed exit will alarm, and at this point, when I come in to take care of my patient,
Please don't get up.
the bed exit will automatically disengage based upon my presence in the room.
Please don't get
No
up.
hands, it is hands-free. You want to let the system automatically take care of the patient. Because patient detection has taken over, we see that that bed exit is suppressed indefinitely until you get that patient back in bed, and then patient safety will be enabled once the caregiver is not detected in the room anymore. Patient safety alerts are sent based upon the patient being in a safe state or an unsafe state. So for example, this patient has the ability to have an alert sent because I do not have the appropriate number of side rails up. I'm not getting an alert now because I'm in the room and suppressing the patient safety system. However, when I walk out of the room, it is going to alert me once patient safety is re-enabled. So I'm receiving an alert right now to tell me I have too few side rails up. The only way to suppress that alert is by going into the room and fixing the system. You cannot cancel the alerts. You cannot answer them from out at the desk. They are latching and self-clearing. So I can only fix it by coming to the side of the rail here and putting that side rail up. If you want to provide care to your patient, you entering the room with your badge will automatically suppress the system so you can provide any care. I can see that by the patient safety alerts being turned off. That's okay. Time to do your meeting. If I want to provide care to my patient, I can see because I entered the room, the patient safety alerts are off. So we will not receive any alerts coming from the patient safety system or the bed exit alarm. I think that's it.
I think so too.
Because at this point,